Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to an update on our 69 BSA Starfire that we've been working on. I did a few electrical things I wanted to show you guys. I got rid of the broken fuse. It was a glass fuse holder, and I got one of these mini AT something or other fuses. So it's got a small 10 amp fuse. I wired it to the existing wiring. Don't forget that these bikes were positive ground. So the plus of the battery actually goes to ground. So you want to fuse the negative side because that's your hot side. Okay. Put some new connectors on. Something to know about British bikes, other than the fact that they're positive ground. Some special tools you need. The bullet connectors that British bikes use are a different size than what you would see on a Japanese bike. Okay, they're special bullet connectors. Okay, we have different kinds. Some crimp on, some solder on, some with bigger holes for thicker wires, and vice versa. So you want to make sure you use British bullet connectors. If you don't, if you try to use Japanese connectors, they actually won't work, because what the British bikes do is everything gets a bullet connector and they go into these male-to-male connectors. Okay, so you have two male bullets go in both ends. They have ones you can stick 4 in. They have some you can stick 3 in. They have all different kinds. Okay, so we want to make sure if you use a Japanese bullet connector, it actually won't fit. It'll just want to fall out. Okay. In addition, you want to use the special crimping tools. So here's a special crimping tool that's designed for crimping the British bullet connectors. Okay. So you got the larger opening. You stick the bullet through. Here's how I do it. Let's see if I can show you guys here. So what I like to do is I will stick the bullet in, and you can see where it's going to get crimped. There's a thin part there, and that's where it's going to get crimped. So the wire has to come through, and it'll come right out the end. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll stick the bullet in so it's held in right at that part. Okay, because you won't be able to push it back through. Okay, then you jam the wire through, and then you can ratchet crimp it all the way down, and you'll crimp until it releases itself. Okay, and that's how you know you got a good connection. All right, so I'm going to open this back up so I don't ruin one. Okay, in addition to this, you're going to want to have an insertion tool. So this tool is designed to push the bullet connectors together. So when you have your bullet connectors, you have one in each end of your joiner. The wires will go through the U cutouts, and then you squeeze them together, and that will seat the bullets at both ends. Okay, get a quality one of these. There's some cheaper ones out there. They bend right away. They bend as soon as you try to squeeze them together. This is a nice thick pair. I've been using this pair for years. Okay, so a couple special tools you want to have when you're working on British electrics. Okay, so in addition to hooking up a new battery, I got a nice new AGM battery, so don't worry about lead acid leaks. I put a proper rear brake light switch in. I put some new spade connectors on, because that's what those used. Okay, and I like to heat shrink them so they don't touch anything. Okay, and then we adjust. You have a couple of adjustments. You can adjust the switch with these two bolts, front and back, and you can even tilt it. And then there's also an adjustment on the foot pedal, on the brake pedal, with the bolt that hits the switch. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. So you can adjust that bolt out further or back in, you know, if it's making contact or not. Okay, so now when I turn the key on, I now have a brake light that works. Okay, so everything is good. Another note, I put a 10 amp fuse in here, okay? Be careful if you find a bike that still has an original British fuse, and if you look in the British manuals, they'll call for like a 35 amp fuse. British amperage ratings on fuses are totally different than American ratings. So when you go out to buy your fuse here in America, you do not want to buy a 35 amp fuse. You will burn the bike will catch fire and burn to the ground, and that fuse will never do anything for you. Okay, you only want to put in like a 10, maybe a 15 amp, depending on how much stuff you're running. Safest thing to do is add up all the wattages of all your light bulbs, add in about 2.5 amps for the ignition system if you're still running points, and then go to the closest upsize. But usually 10 or a 15 amp will get you by. So I got a 10 amp in here, and that should be fine, okay? So the next step now is we're gonna put gas in this gas tank and see if this fiberglass gas tank will still hold fuel or not. And we should be almost ready to take this out for a ride. All right, I am going to get ready to attempt to put some fuel in here, and I will bring you back in a few minutes. All right, we're back. I put just a little bit of fuel in the tank. Not a lot, just a little bit. I turned on the reserve petcock. I don't see any leaks out of. Maybe there is a little bit of a leak here. Over here is leaking. So we have a leak at the petcocks, it looks like. Yep, we got a leak at the petcock. Alright, so we have to try to figure out what that is. But nevertheless, alright, so we got a leaky petcock we have to figure out. In the meantime, let's get it started. Give it a little tickle. All right, there's a tickle. Turn the key on. Now I took the choke out of this bike. I don't run chokes in my British bikes. I don't usually ride them that much in the winter. Usually don't really need it anyway. But it's a little bit cold in this garage today, so let's see what happens. to go. I gotta figure out why that other petcock is leaking. Could just be something he's tightened up a little bit more. Actually, it looks like this one's leaking too. All right, so we got some leaks to figure out. But hey, it runs on its own power and own juice, so that's all good. And we'll fix these couple of leaks here, and then we'll be able to take her out for a proper test ride and see how the transmission and clutch work. Like I said, this bike's never been ridden for as long as I've had it, or as long as the previous owner has had it. So it's been somewhere between 15 and 20 years, we're guessing, that it's ever been run. So see what kind of state the clutch and the transmission are in. But at least we got it started under its own fuel supply, and we'll just figure out a couple of leaks here and we should be good to go. All right, I will talk to you guys soon. Until then, get out in the garage and work on something.